You didn't start out selfish. You started out trying to help. You showed up when it was uncomfortable. You listened when it was heavy. You stayed longer than you wanted to, because you believed that's what a good person does. And somehow, you're the one who ended up exhausted, drained, quietly resentful. You tell yourself it's just a phase, that things will get better if you try harder, that walking away would mean you failed, or worse, that you became the bad person in the story. But here's the part no one prepares you for. Helping the wrong situations doesn't make you stronger. It slowly teaches you to ignore yourself. You don't lose your peace all at once. You lose it in small moments. Every time you silence that feeling, telling you something isn't right. This isn't about being heartless. And it's not about abandoning people the moment things become difficult. This is about something most people are never taught until they're already burned out. Self-preservation is not cruelty. It's a survival skill. There's a quiet belief many people carry their entire lives, that if you care enough, if you stay long enough, if you give a little more, things will eventually change. But real life doesn't reward endurance without limits. Compassion without boundaries doesn't make you kind. It makes you empty. And when you're empty, you don't help anyone. You just slowly disappear while trying to save everyone else. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you lack empathy. It means you finally recognize that your energy is finite, and spending it endlessly on situations that refuse to change doesn't make you noble. It only teaches you to ignore yourself. At some point, it stops being about who they are. It becomes about what keeps repeating, because there are situations where nothing truly changes. The details shift. The excuses sound different. The apologies feel sincere, but the outcome stays exactly the same. You step in. Things calm down for a moment. You feel hopeful again. And then, quietly, the cycle returns. This is where many people get trapped without realizing it. They focus on intentions instead of outcomes. They listen to words instead of watching patterns. They wait for a breakthrough that never arrives. Patterns don't need bad intentions to cause damage. They don't require cruelty or manipulation. They only need consistency. When the same crises keep appearing, when the same problems resurface with new explanations, when the same promises lead to the same results, you're no longer dealing with a temporary struggle. You're dealing with a structure, and structures don't respond to hope. They don't change because someone cares more. They change only when something disrupts them. This is why helping can feel so confusing. Each time it feels like this moment might be different. Each time there's just enough improvement to keep you invested, but never enough change to actually break the cycle. Ignoring patterns doesn't make you compassionate. It makes you predictable, and predictability has a cost. This is why so many people eventually say, "I kept helping, and nothing changed. I gave more, and I lost myself." Not because they didn't care enough, but because they cared in situations where caring alone could never be enough. The pattern stayed intact. The structure remained untouched. Only the cost kept increasing, slowly, quietly, over time. As you listen to this, someone likely comes to mind. A face, a name, a situation you've lived through more times than you want to admit. Maybe it's someone who always needs rescuing. There's always a crisis, always a reason things can't change right now. And somehow, you're always the one expected to step in. You tell yourself they just need more time, more support, more patience. And each time you help, you hope this will be the moment things finally shift. Or maybe it's someone who apologizes convincingly. They sound self-aware. They take responsibility, at least with words. They promise things will be different this time. And for a moment, you believe them. Not because the evidence is strong, but because believing feels easier than letting go. Then, slowly, the pattern returns. The same tension, the same exhaustion, The same quiet frustration you keep to yourself. For some people watching this, the uncomfortable realization isn't about someone else at all. It's about themselves. You notice how often you stay longer than you should, how often you explain away warning signs, how often you sacrifice your peace just to avoid feeling guilty. You replay conversations in your head, trying to justify why leaving would be wrong, why setting boundaries would hurt too much, why enduring a little longer feels safer than facing the discomfort of change. You didn't do this because you're weak. You did it because you care. Because you were taught that being good means being available. That love means endurance. That walking away equals failure. But over time, something shifts. You feel more irritable, more distant, more disconnected from who you used to be. People start telling you you've changed, that you're colder, that you're less patient. What they don't see is the quiet truth behind that change. You didn't become bitter overnight. You became tired of abandoning yourself. This is why so many people say, "I didn't recognize myself anymore. I felt like the villain for wanting to leave. I stayed so long, I forgot what peace felt like." Nothing dramatic had to happen. No explosion, no single breaking moment, just a slow erosion of energy, boundaries, and self-respect. One choice at a time. There's a line most people are afraid to acknowledge. The moment where helping slowly turns into carrying. Helping means offering support. Carrying means absorbing responsibility for choices that aren't yours. And those two things are not the same. You can care deeply about someone and still recognize that staying is costing you more than it's giving. You can step back without becoming cruel. Walking away doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you stopped sacrificing yourself to keep something alive that refuses to change. Many people confuse compassion with endurance. They believe that leaving equals failure, that setting boundaries means giving up, that staying, no matter the cost, is proof of loyalty. But loyalty that destroys you isn't loyalty. It's self-neglect disguised as virtue. You are not obligated to absorb endless emotional weight for situations that keep repeating the same outcomes. You are not responsible for fixing patterns that refuse to respond to help. Boundaries are not punishments. They are signals. Signals that say, "This is as far as I can go without losing myself." Some situations don't need more effort. They need distance. Because without limits, help becomes fuel for the same cycle. You've been trying to escape. Protecting your peace doesn't make you heartless. It makes you honest about what you can give without breaking yourself. And honesty is uncomfortable. It forces you to let go of the image of being the person who always saves the day. But clarity often arrives where guilt once lived. And clarity allows something compassion never could. An ending that doesn't destroy you. Over time, the question stops being about them. It becomes about you, about what you tolerate, about how much of yourself you're willing to trade, just to keep the image of being good. Every situation you stay in shapes you a little more than you realize. Every pattern you continue feeding quietly rewrites your limits, not because you consciously chose it, but because repetition always leaves a mark. People rarely change us in dramatic ways. They change us slowly, through what we excuse, through what we endure, through what we keep telling ourselves is temporary. And one day, you look back and notice something unsettling. Not that someone took advantage of you, but that you kept giving, long after your own well-being was asking you to stop. You didn't lose yourself overnight. You faded gradually, piece by piece, choice by choice. This isn't about judging anyone. It's not about labeling people as good or bad. It's about understanding what staying costs you. Because who you become is shaped less by what happens to you and more by what you allow to continue. The patterns you tolerate become the standards you live by, and those standards quietly decide how much peace you get to keep. So eventually, the real question isn't whether someone else deserves your help. It's whether you can afford to keep paying the same price for the same outcome. Before this ends, there's one question worth sitting with for a moment. How do you personally tell the difference between helping someone and slowly losing yourself? A lot of people struggle with this quietly. They wonder if walking away means they failed, if setting boundaries means they became the bad person in the story. Others realize something different, that staying too long cost them more than leaving ever could. There isn't a simple answer, and that's why this question matters. Everyone draws that line in a different place, based on what they've lived through, based on what they've lost. If this brought up something personal for you, you're not alone. Many people carry these experiences without ever saying them out loud. Sometimes, putting it into words is the first step toward clarity.